In February 1990, while on set in downtown Los Angeles, director Stephen Hopkins and his crew stumbled upon a human corpse in an alleyway while preparing to shoot scenes for the film Predator 2.
Welcome to Bedlam Movie Night, the podcast where we dissect, deconstruct, and exhume films from the depths of horror, action, sci-fi, and beyond. I'm Ben Marlowe, joined by John Anderson, and tonight we're headed straight into the urban jungle of Predator 2. Well, John, let's break it down. What'd you think of this one? It's a throwback, to say the least.
I have grown to love this film more and more. It's a great example of a big studio just throwing tons of money towards a sequel that maybe they should have, maybe they shouldn't have, but I'm glad they did, because it's basically like a graphic novel come to life. Like, it's all the violence, all the sci-fi, all the ridiculous, like, over-the-top acting, but it's perfect in every way.
Yeah, with all like the panning shots and like the zoom ins and everything like that.
Well, this came at a time when like studios were putting money into projects that were just like, I don't know if it was because the Tim Burton Batman had sort of like blown the scene up in 1989, but after that you got like Army of Darkness by Sam Raimi.
Totally.
You also got Darkman by Sam Raimi.
Totally.
And this film, Last Action Hero, which came a few years after, but it was just like these larger than life ideas that they were like, yeah, let's make that happen.
Yeah, well, all led by Arnold, because he was like the first time we ever saw like a human version of a comic book character walking around and stuff like that, which I think is like the big void here, which I think is what a lot of people struggled with, was like, where the hell's Arnold type of thing. Yeah,
well, the reason that Danny Glover got to star, and actually Gary Busey got to star in this film, is because Joel Silver was a producer on the film, and he had also produced Lethal Weapon. So when the crew, when they found out that Arnold was not going to sign up to do this sequel, Joel Silver was like, you know what? I got my guys, because we just did Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah, these guys are ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, Gary Busey and Danny Glover like got put into bat right there. And I mean, I really like Danny Glover as an action hero. I mean,
I heard Arnold like turn this down for Terminator 2. I mean, that's a tough call on his part.
Well,
do you do Terminator 2 or do you Predator 2, honestly?
I mean, he obviously, like, Terminator 2 can't be more of a perfect
that one,
sci-fi.
And that made more sense for him to reoccur. Yeah. What's he going to like battle him again in the jungle? You know, that type of thing. I mean, Danny Glover is an odd action hero. I feel like he looks like his like shoelaces are tied and he's just like falling through every movie he's in, be it Lethal Weapon, and he's like constantly too old for this shit. And as they say in Lethal Weapon, but I
think, don't they even say it in this movie? Does he?
He does.
Like they throw it back into this film.
He's constantly. That's the thing. He just looks like he's constantly tired. So like he could be like 20 and be like, I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
And I know the fun fact is like when they used to say I'm too old for this shit in the Lethal Weapon movies, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, they were like 40, 42, which is like the leading man age nowadays.
Yeah. Well, fun black belt nerd moment, going back to the Arnold Terminator 2 thing. So in the fictional universe of Terminator 2, the nuclear explosion that takes place in the beginning of that film when Sarah Connor's like at the playground and sees like, you know, the atomic bomb go off and everybody gets blown away and the skeleton against the fence. That is all meant to take place in the summer of 1997. Like, I think it's like August 1997. Predator 2, the whole story takes place in the summer in Los Angeles in 1997 as well.
Oh, really? It came out in 1990, so they like went in the future? Really?
Exactly. Their idea of this dystopian future was 1997, which is hilarious because it was like literally 7 years away. But in each film's fictional universe, like Predator 2 and Terminator 2 take place in the same summer of the same year.
What a bizarre thing just to go 7 years ahead. And also, not just that, they made everybody dress like they're in fucking zoot suits, you know, like they're in the Cherry Poppin' Daddies, which is like,
yeah.
That's like, I was watching this, I was like, came out in 1990. And it looks bizarre for fashion, and now that they thought this was going to be fashion in 1997 or something, Jesus
like what
Christ.
What are you trying to tell?
Yeah, I mean, fucking Danny Glover's running around in what looks to be like a outfit made of canvas the entire time.
And he's just the sweatiest man alive.
I mean, he's wearing so many layers, and it's like every 2 sentences in this movie is how hot it is.
Yeah,
but you know, it's a sweaty good time. That's for goddamn sure.
Well, apparently, like to speak on that. When they filmed this, it was actually during a heat wave. Like, they were actually like dealing with that as well.
You can see it on their faces. They like you could just see everybody's actually, and just I mean, it feels like a filter, like as if it was like traffic, Soderbergh in Mexico or something.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about Stephen Hopkins, the director. He, at the time, was a little bit of an unknown in Hollywood. He only had done one other big budget film, and he did Nightmare Before Elm Street 5, The Dream Warrior.
Nice.
Like, which I've never seen, but now, like, after seeing Predator 2, I'm like, let's see what he did with Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Like, so he got a budget for this film of like $30 million, which was bigger than Nightmare Before Elm Street.
Seriously.
He was quoted as saying that like when he got Predator 2, he went at it like a wild dog. Like these are his words. And
yeah, you
like,
can tell.
He was probably a little bit more restrained with, you know, the 5th sequel in a franchise where they're like, we kind of want you to do this and that. So this time around, he really went at it. By this point, though, he was no stranger to graphic storytelling. He had already been adept at bringing like larger than life ideas to the page and into reality. He was a huge comic book fan and an illustrator.
Nice.
He actually got into directing by creating storyboards for music videos for Duran Duran, Elton John, and Mick Jagger.
Goddamn, 1990s
right?
when such a dream was possible. Now we're in this time where it's like, God damn it, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I mean, we're talking about like mid 80s, late 80s, into the early 90s, like Elton John and Mick Jagger. So he's just like creating storyboards and directing concerts, music videos.
Fuckers like that in the 90s.
On.
Fuckers like that in the 90s got away with that shit. That's like David Fincher like got his start by like doing like fucking 9 Inch Nails videos and shit like that. I mean, holy shit, yeah.
So John and Jim Thomas, their graphic vision of the future would be meticulously drawn out as storyboards before committing it to the film.
7 years in the future.
Yeah, Hopkins himself drew over 400 storyboards for the film. So like literally like most of this film is from his brain onto a sketch pad and then onto film.
Yeah, I mean, it's got like a look. You can tell it's like somebody. You can tell somebody like took control of the creativity of it and made it very noir. And that I could see that being an illustrator who took responsibility.
I mean, it's exactly. I mean, it is a comic book come to life. Like when you step back and look at it, and also funny that you say noir because the zoot suit, like 1940s deco-esque. That's noir city.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, what the hell? That they thought 7 years in the future we're going to go back to the 40s or the 20s or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
I will say one of the big influences for me as a kid, speaking of comics, there is this comic book, Batman versus Predator.
Yep.
And I remember reading that as a kid, and it was like the first time I saw like really graphic, like naked bodies without heads, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah.
But what a fucking battle, honestly, Batman versus Predator. If you really like get down and think about it, they basically have the same fucking like weapons and shit, and it's badass. But it's one that I wish they did a better job of. Yeah.
I also noticed watching this film that Alan Silvestri, the film's composer, return from the original Predator.
He's the best.
Yeah.
That fucking original score is the best.
Yeah, he carried over a lot of the same themes from the first one, but in this one he added a lot of African drumming, tribal vocalization, and even like some brief saxophone parts to it.
Yeah. Well, he's got to be a little city vibe there.
He kind of like he enhanced what he started on the first one.
I feel like he's the guy who like invented the like rumba, and then like the camera spans, but he might have been the one that like did the like rumba, and then a span or something like that.
Well, there's a really cool interview which is like a round table composer discussion, and Alan Silvestri's there, a couple of other Hollywood film composers are there, but among them is Hans Zimmer. And in that sort of round table, Predator 2 comes up, and
no shit.
Hans Zimmer in that circle states that Predator 2 was his favorite action film score.
I bet. I mean, it's phenomenal. The first one too is just it's like not in your face like, you know, tribal drum, not in your face like suspenseful action, and it hits the sweetest spot that I think ever was hit. Yeah, I'll agree with Hans Zimmer.
Well, again, like I said in the beginning with the crew finding the dead body in the alleyway in DTLA, the crew also faced like a lot of shit from the locals, including them like throwing actual bags of human waste down from the apartments above where they were filming. They had to dodge like bags of shit coming down and like huge rats.
See, I mean, it makes me like, you know, I consider myself, when it says this movie came out in 1990, I was like, oh yeah, that's when I was alive. But like, it's making me feel like, in retrospect, after all these many years, like I was like, what the fuck was going on back then? I mean, what the hell was going on in Los Angeles in 1990?
Honestly, a lot, because this film, like the story of this movie takes place, it's supposed to take place in the future, but when it was filmed in 1989, Los Angeles, there was a lot of tension going on. This was 2 years prior to the 1992 riots after the Rodney King incident.
Right.
So like that just wasn't an anomaly. Like shit was building up in the streets of Los Angeles, and this kind of reflects what was happening in the city at that time.
I mean, that was also the time when I know it was like the classic shots of Los Angeles where it like looked like the smoggy Mexico City style, you know, that type of thing. And I know that's like when we started getting our smog test. But yeah, I think like 1985 to 1995 Los Angeles was grimier than, you know, I think we're really thinking,
Yeah, well, I want to get this out of the way before we dive deeper into the film, but a great black belt nerd moment, along with the shared fictional timeline between Predator 2 and Terminator 2. Bill Paxton in the film becomes the first actor to get the distinguished title of being killed by an alien, a Terminator, and a Predator. This film marked number 3 in the list.
Kind of the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
honestly.
That's like, what more accolade could you want as like just a young actor? Like you get the, you know, cream of the crop.
I got to get this out of the way too. I get Bill Paxton, Gary Busey, and Slater mixed up.
Christian Slater?
Yeah.
That's a stretch.
Is it? Yeah.
I mean, I can see.
You can see Busey and Paxton before Slater.
Yeah.
Okay, but so that was the thing is even when I was like reviewing this movie, even when writing just my thoughts, I kept being like Paxton, Busey. I don't know why. I think they kind of have the same thing. They're just like different sized heads basically and teeth. Yeah, but
they're always kind of smiling.
I mean, you could see Gary Busey having that title just as well. You know, the only I don't know what's Busey's title. Just anything, any title come to your head for Busey?
In regards to what?
Anything.
Wild, crazy guy.
Yeah. I feel like he did something like crazy. Maybe he just looks like the British political guy.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you're mentioning it because before filming this movie, Busey had been in a motorcycle accident that nearly killed him. In fact, he was legally dead for a short period of time. And while he was on set with Predator 2, he would talk to crew members and other actors about what it was like to be on the other side. So I don't know, like you can say that
it's kind of awesome, but yeah.
I mean, like I feel like he was always that.
Yeah.
Right? But
yeah, I mean, he seems like I can't really even think of other movies with him off the top of my head right now other than Black Sheep, honestly, which I don't think that's his claim to fame.
Yeah.
What's your top Gary Busey?
Well, the first movie I remember him being in, I was a kid and probably should not have watched it. I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head, but basically he was like living in the attic of a family. It was called like the Man Upstairs or something. And basically like, you know, a squatter in somebody's attic. And it was an abusive family and he made friends with the boy and then like eventually killed the dad because he was a
really
like,
Ooh,
very,
this is a good one.
Very thick like subject matter.
There's someone listening right now being like, "It's that fucking," you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. They know, they saw that movie. Yeah, that was one of the first films I saw him as, and he wasn't crazy. I mean, yes, he was crazy. He was living in somebody's attic and like killed the family, like killed the dad.
But he was like,
you kind of like the way the story was strung. He like you like rooted for him.
Oh, I guess he was in fucking Point Break, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
That's
he was
his big one.
he was the cop. Yeah.
And yeah, that's like literally the only thing I know him other than Black Sheep. You remember him from Black Sheep? He's fucking rich in that one.
I definitely remember him from Point Break, though.
See, I'm the opposite. I remember him from Black Sheep. We're going to do both back-to-back movies, you know.
Also, damn, like yet another black belt nerd moment that I'm realizing is Shane Black wrote the script for Lethal Weapon and was also one of the commandos in the original Predator film.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? And if I'm not, I'm gonna fact check right quick, but I think he wrote the script for the original Predator.
He did. Is that or he like directed it or something ridiculous?
Well, no, he directed The Predator, the 2018 Predator film.
That's right.
So he not only like
he's the dude in the glasses.
Crazy tie-ins all over the place.
It says like the dirty jokes and stuff in the first one.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, at the end of the day, if I were to compare them, I'm obviously going to go with Predator 1. But as far as like sequels go, this is like a phenomenal experience and it needs to be talked about more.
I mean, I got to go with Predator 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand the love with Predator 1, but like, they went above and beyond with this one. They even included like the hardcore TV like news segment,
although
which
I will say like the Predator 2, the supporting cast, like all the cast plays a thing. In the first one, it's literally just like all the people reacting to Arnold Schwarzenegger and the alien.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is just there for punchlines. And in this one, there's like, you know, you like mourn, Danny when he dies and stuff like that. You mourn all of them when they die, really.
Yeah.
It's got something going on there. And I mean, at the end of the day, if they did cast Arnold, it would still just be the Arnold show. Yeah,
not as interesting. Mm-hmm. Like a good action movie, but not as interesting.
No, that beat cop shit, nobody does that like Danny Glover. He's the one who made the template, honestly.
Yeah. That's all I got to say about what I've thought about the movie. I mean, maybe we should get into some scenes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's time to go into the dungeon.
Shall we get into the dungeon?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, so we open up with the score that we just talked about. It's all jungly and everything. And we're in like what seems to be the densest jungle ever.
Yep.
And it pans up and it's totally Elysian Park.
Yep.
And it's right over the Dodger Stadium. And then we're back into the concrete jungle.
I like that they, right up front, they blasted you with like that hardcore news segment. It reminds me of RoboCop. how RoboCop opens up the same way with like a fictional, news program where like it really immerses you in this world that they're trying to get you to be in, where you're like, oh, there's a news program. It's going to tell me about what's happening in this world.
Yeah, and that guy looks exactly like fucking Shooter McGavin.
I was gonna say, it could have been his dad or something.
Yeah, exactly. Because now it's been like 40 years. Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I really love like Danny Glover's entrance. He just plows his like whatever Crown Victoria car into a van.
It's like a fucking white Lincoln, and then what I like is like the Predator is like watching.
Yeah.
And he's all like, ooh, who's the alpha male?
Yeah.
And then, like, fucking, it ends with Danny Glover, like, big dicking over the commissioner.
Yeah.
And he's like, I will say, like, Heineman is the best fucking name for a boss ever, where he's like, what the hell's going on here, Heineman? And he's like, insubordination. And, like, the Predator's watching that scene when they're, like, having the off. And he's like, oh, that's the alpha male.
The guy.
That's the guy I gotta hunt. Which is silly and ridiculous, but it is fucking hilarious.
Danny Glover's line when he opens up the trunk of his car and he's like trying to look through like what gun to take, and he like pulls out a shotgun. He's like, it's too small. He says it like literally to himself.
Like a video game. And then he just like shoots these guys through. Yeah, it's just a hilarious. That I will say, I don't know if it was the fact that all the actors had to pretend that they were shouting over gunfire, but the opening dialogue of the movie is just atrocious. It's so bad. They're like, I think they're in over there. No, we got to get down over here. And it's like, I don't know if we can go up. And it's just like, it's rough.
You've also got the El Scorpio gangster who's like, he sniffs so much cocaine and he's like, Scorpio's ready. Like that's
I love this movie for the gangsters too. The gangsters in this movie, again, in the first Predator you only had like 6 guys to kill. This one we have like just indisposable.
Jamaican gangsters, you got Colombian gangsters, you got LAPD, you've got like a secret CIA mission to kill. Like you've got a lot of
so many disposable. And in the 90s, I will say that was always like the big like upgrade is like more henchmen to kill. They did that in like Jurassic Park and shit like that.
The total body count of this film, 48 deaths in total.
Yeah, it's actually in the first one it's 7.
Right, it's free. You can count them, but actually it's probably like more like 50 plus because you've got the whole subway death scene.
Right.
And I just lost count completely.
No,
but, like you can count from start to finish, you can definitely put a finger on 48 kills.
I like that. See, in the first one it really is. But, it depends on your type of movie because there's something about the suspense of it all.
Yeah.
We cruise out of this sweaty-ass fucking thing. They're all in a shootout. And then we go to, like, honestly, has become one of my favorite scenes is, like, the station. And then we meet who I have in my notes as Slater. That's how much I get confused.
Bill Paxton.
And we get Paxton. And he's just, like, the most Paxton I think he could possibly ever be. Yeah,
the station was definitely the site of my favorite line in the movie when Danny Glover's line says, Captain, it means you're cutting off my dick and shoving it up my ass, which is like, damn, like, you know what I mean? It's like you're screwing me over, but it's like times 10 on steroids.
It's just the most like, it's like also like just the most classic beat cop scene on steroids with just the way it looks and the zoot suits and everything like that.
The other good line that he gives is when they're like, they go over to Bill Paxton, who's like kind of the new kid on the crew, so to speak.
Yeah, he's all hitting on the girl.
Yeah, and he's got this reputation for being the Lone Ranger because of how he operates. Danny Glover goes, that's the Lone Ranger? I thought he was here to fix the air conditioner.
Yeah, I like that one too. I thought of, it's probably because it's like literally like a wise like black detective and the young idiot white guy.
Yeah.
But I thought of when they meet there, it's just kind of like a comic book version of the dialogue they have in 7.
Yeah.
When like Morgan Freeman's always like, I want you to look and I want you to listen, and Brad Pitt's like, I wasn't around guarding the Taco Bell. And in this one, it's just such a comic book version of that exact conversation where he's like, I think you got to get used to this. He's like, I'm Bill Paxton. And then, and then after the station, we cruise into kind of a tribal grunt, and it goes into a very graphic sex scene in what I think is the most ridiculous apartment decor of ever. Like, it's like Mayan temple, like columns are supporting it.
It's riffing hard on the Frank Lloyd Wright Los Feliz house, which Blade Runner riffed hard on, which also the whole police station scene riffed on Blade Runner. Like, it's all all these worlds collide in the first few minutes of this film.
There's just nowhere comfortable to sit in these fucking places.
Well,
I mean, Jesus.
I remember like that scene etched itself in my mind when I was a kid, and like saw
the nudity is like gonna do that to you no matter what. Then there's like
it's the nudity followed by like the most graphic violence.
Yeah,
and killing scenes.
Yeah, and the gaudy monstrosity of decoration and everything. I mean, no matter where you're at, if the nudity didn't get you, if you're gay, the gaudy monstrosities will get you. Jesus. This is when we meet the Jamaican gangsters, and
they do a whole voodoo ritual.
I love. I'm a sucker for like that type of stuff. I was a big fan of Shatas, if you've ever seen that.
Well, we've got a really great like moment with the Jamaican gangsters in their Cadillac swooping up Danny Glover.
Oh yeah, that comes a little bit later, but we'll get to that. So like after we. I mean, honestly, after we have the crazy like nude scene and everything, they Predator rolls in and kills everybody. Actually, that brings up one of my favorite lines. Danny, the detective, the Hispanic guy, his like.
So that actually, I'll touch on that. That was played by Ruben Blades.
Right. I only know him from Devil's Own. Do you ever see that one?
I have. Yeah. So that was kind of his thing. Like. He broke into acting kind of as a detective. Like, he played a lot of, like,
he does that.
TV shows and then, like, in films.
He kind of looks like NYPD Blue guy.
But before his acting career, like, a prolific singer from Venezuela.
No shit.
Like, incredible musician and singer.
Why is the minute you said that, it made perfect sense?
No, because, I mean, the transition from musician to actor is always seamless and good. The transition from actor to musician, not so graceful.
Never.
But Ruben Blades was already a master, like, at music and what he was doing.
I really liked it. I mean, Devil's Own, for some reason as a kid, one of those like movies I had around that we owned, so I watched it a lot. And I always thought he was great. I always did think he was in NYPD Blue. But one of my favorite lines of this movie, because it kind of touches on the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, and it makes you think as if they wrote the script thinking it was going to be Arnold. But like at one point, all the dudes are like strung up way high, and he leans over to Danny Glover and he's like, those guys are so high up, not even you could bring them up there. And it's like, are you talking about this old guy who can barely make it? Like, obviously he couldn't bring those up there.
Well, and for R.I.P. Danny in this film.
Yeah, he
gets it after that. Yeah.
Never go investigate the murder scene by yourself.
No. They did that because, Gary Busey's team took over the crime scene, so they got shut out. And Danny Glover was like, yo, get in there and get us something.
Oh, shit. So
get us something juicy.
A little bit of guilt right there, Danny. Mm-hmm. Side note, that was one of the beauties of No Country for Old Men, is when Tommy Lee goes back to investigate it, and he's behind the door, and you think what's going to happen.
Yep.
Because it's a classic.
Yeah.
So we, after our Danny boy dies, our sweet Danny boy, that's when we get to the excitement. We get to go meet King Willie. Yeah, so one of my favorite parts of this is, Danny Glover gets into the car, and when he gets out of it, it's all like filled with smoke, and he does the classic 90s thing where he goes, you guys need to cut down on that stuff.
Yeah.
But this is one of my favorite parts of like the whole alley thing. That alleyway scene actually is probably my favorite scene.
Yeah, it's a really cool juxtaposition of, they build up to, you think there's going to be this sword fight where the alien comes down and he's invisible and he's walking through the water, but then you immediately hear this scream and it cuts to like a close-up of King Willie's face as though he's screaming, but it's actually like, no, it's just his decapitated head being cut off. It's a really cool
It's awesome.
thing of like implied violence where they're like, what just happened, but you thought you were going to get the goods.
Well, they just gave that in the first one too, remember? I mean...
with the Native American character.
Yeah, where he cuts it
yeah,
and then you just hear a scream. And then it's become a trope in Predator movies where like, the slightly foreign guy ends up standing off against the Predator. And in Predators, I don't know if there should be a best one of those scenes.
It was the Yakuza guy.
They face off in the tall grass, and it's bad fucking ass, I will say.
That one's really good, because he almost gets him.
They get each other.
He does kill him, right?
I think they get each other.
Right, that's right. So they kind of like... In the later version, they kind of like complete. They're like, they give you what
you were just saying. Like, I wish we could see that, but that's what a sequel should be, is kind of play on that.
Totally.
And like, I just love the way he speaks. Where he's like, again, I'm a big fan of Shotas. Where he's like, "You're in the spirit world, man. This is dread, man. Truly dread." Just as he like says goodbye to him, it's so badass. And then the way he just comes in there. But then again, constantly competing for best scene. After the alley scene, we get to go right into daylight. But the graveyard scene, where Danny Glover...
You want some candy?
Yeah, Danny Glover goes to pay respects to Danny, who he fucking got killed.
Yeah.
And when he finds out the Predator's there, that's where I think that's where the music came from, where he's like pointing his gun in one direction and the camera swishes to the right. It's like da da da.
I mean, I just felt bad for Danny Glover's character, because he's sweating and he's just like scared, and he's like, where is he?
Like more like if there was no actual alien, you're just watching this old
poor
beat
man
cop like mourning his partner, pointing the gun in different directions. And then meanwhile, while he's out there fucking mourning Danny, the subway scene happens. Which is kind of a crazy scene. I mean...
That scene is fantastic. Also, I want to give a shout out to Maria Conchita Alonso, who plays Detective Leona, who's in the crew, and she has her whole moment in the subway scene. Again, how all these movies tied together back in the day. She is in The Running Man alongside Schwarzenegger. And yet another sci-fi classic.
I thought she was badass. I liked her a lot in this movie, and I mean, I don't think she did a good job with pretending she was shouting, but this scene was kind of her moment for sure.
Yeah.
I love, and also that's another thing, what the hell was going on in the late 80s, early 90s, where everybody on the LA subway was expected to have a gun, and that was so much a trope that they were able to be well, the Predator, if he were to go to the LA subway, he would kill everybody.
He'd kill everybody.
Because everybody has a gun.
And
I didn't know that it was that much of a trope. And it was cool how that was a brief joke, and then it immediately became the throttle of the plot. Everyone's going to die because of the guns. And then right before that, in the graveyard, the little kid said, "Do you want some candy with a fake gun?" And he recognized it was fake. Right. And then they go straight to the bad ones.
One thing I did want to mention, going back to the death of King Willie, they throw a cool little Easter egg in the film where the Predator has King Willie's skull and he's cleaning it and dusting it up, and he puts it on a wall, and it's next to the skull of some crazy dinosaur looking thing, and then another monster, but then up above it all is the skull of a xenomorph from the Alien franchise, totally on the Predator's trophy
wall.
That's
the first time they ever tied.
They touched on it. They didn't really want to distract from the story that they were already telling by giving people an idea that there would be a crossover, even though the franchises didn't come together until 2003 with Alien versus Predator. But there was already a comic thing out, I think, maybe, or
I'm sure the comics
there
were
was
already
something bubbling, but they they gave just a little second of that. But yeah, there's that little...
That was like the beginning of the multiverse right there. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, then so like after that, like we basically hit the third act and like shit hits the fan. Like, but yeah, then he basically hits Gary Busey and they've got their
whole
freezer stakeout where one of the best lines: lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my! And
I will say this is the point when we definitely go into the dungeon with Danny Glover. Our main protagonist doesn't really come head to head with the monster until this third act, and then
when
we're
he's
in the dungeon.
In the freezer watching it all go down.
That's great.
And then what I like about this dude is like a character is like he's watching all go down in the freezer and he like leaps into action, you know, and like he's getting his ass kicked the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time he's like up there, he's scared of heights, which I also like because, you know, Arnold is just Arnold.
Yeah.
And it was just like that. I like honestly like I love that like there's that rooftop scene
with the Predator getting struck by lightning.
Yeah,
like, and what the fuck is that?
No, then there's like the rooftop scene where he gets like
he's hanging.
Yeah, and then like the Predator goes into the old woman's bathroom and everything like that. And it's just like it's like a weird beat right before they hit like the main battle.
Yeah, the whole like apartment scene in the old lady's bathroom or whatever is so funny because Danny Glover like falls in after the Predator and he comes out and he's like, "It's okay, I'm a cop," and the Predator's already like stormed through the apartment and broken down walls, and she goes, "I don't think he gives a shit."
And I guess it's also a trope now that I think about it, is like there needs to be like a Predator healing scene. Yeah. Where he's like and like injecting himself and stuff like that.
Which when you like as a kid I saw all that and I was like, "Oh, he's got some crazy science fiction like gonna like, you know, put some butter on his wound and it seals it up." And when you look at it as an adult, it's like they just got all this shit from the dollar store and just like,
oh my god, it's a guy in like oversized gloves, and you're like, how does that guy even like handle the syringe? Like his fingers make no sense, but they do a good job, all things considered. But yeah, then after that, it's like full on fucking like end of somehow. Which
we literally again like we take another deeper step into the dungeon where like Danny Glover goes into the spaceship, which we never got to see in the earlier movies.
And that's where they like lean into the nods because you can see all the skulls in the background of everything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they have like literally a fist fight, and it's just like a hardcore brutal thing. But like, how does he kill him in the end? He
kills him because he's got his circular like saw, like his throwing thing, and he stabs him. He stabs the Predator with
it. Right.
And then he got it from him when they were like
on the
rooftop, and he held on to it, and then like they're fighting, and he gets him good.
Yeah, and then all the other Predators, and see that's like as you said in the beginning, that's like why this is like about the Predator, because it like rounds out the whole story of like. Yeah, in the beginning, we're, like, sniffing for the alpha, and then at the end, we, like, find him and give him nods because he killed ours.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring up another Easter egg in the spaceship. It comes in the form of the lead Predator. You know, when they come out, the whole Predator gang comes out, and they confront Danny Glover, and the chief Predator, whatever, hands him this old, like, musket from 1715 or whatever.
Right.
Inscribed on the musket is the name Raphael Adolfini. Over 20 years later, after Predator 2 was made, the character of Raphael gives this gun to Naru, the Comanche warrior that defeats the Predator in the 2022 film Prey.
Yeah,
so you got another fucking tie-in. Like they do a good job of just trying to keep things like hooked into each other, you know?
They're the first ones to do like the multiverse thing where they just give like a little bit and like hopefully some writers will pick this up
or
later.
Nerds like us will do a podcast and talk about it all.
And it's really, I mean I'm looking forward to this whole Prey spin-off. I mean, have you seen any of the upcoming trailers for what's coming up?
I have not.
Oh my god, it's crazy. So they have like we're like diving into the Predator culture, and like one of our main protagonists is one of these Predators, and it's like he's like training to be a Predator, and like I don't know much, but I've only seen a couple clips, and one thing I'll say is like the visual effects they've done on the face, I can just tell they're like, this character is gonna like, we're gonna like follow a predator. Like we're gonna have like emotional, like I could see this predator like falling in love and shit like that, you know? So we'll see.
What if the predator, okay, here we go. What if the predator falls in love with a xenomorph and you've got a Romeo and Juliet Alien versus Predator?
Well, the fucking aliens have their like spin-off too going off. I mean, you never know. Well, actually, that's a good transition. So I think it's time for us to get into the categories section. Do you have anything else to wrap up?
I think that about does it for me with the film. So, let's get into some categories.
All right, categories.
All right, so we like to wrap up Bedlam movie nights with a little segment called Grave Matters, where we have a few questions and games that we like to play. First up is our take on Fuck, Marry, Kill, but we like to do Fight, Friend, or Spare. So in this case, my three were I would fight the Predator because,
Goddamn right.
he's been taken out twice, by two different guys.
Gotta sock him in the fucking face.
I'd like to see how I would do. Like,
you would do great.
Right? Like how resourceful would I have to get in order to take this guy out? Because I've seen a number of different strategies at this point. So let me have a shot at him.
You would get I think you would get into the fisticuff state.
Yeah.
You would get 2 good knocks, and then he would do his bullshit, like stab you or something.
Yeah. I wouldn't
Well,
make
ultimately, you're getting stabbed. But you still get
give him
2
a go.
knocks, yeah.
Yeah. I would friend Danny Glover's character.
Yeah.
That's a dude you just want to sit down and have a beer with and just like...
Yeah, you're trying to be his Mel Gibson.
Tell me a story. Yeah, exactly. Tell me a story. What's...
me and you could make a pretty good cop duo. Yeah.
And he would say, I'm too old for this shit.
Me too, bro.
End of conversation. I mean, I'm basically Danny Glover's age from Lethal Weapon.
You are literally ready.
Wild.
You're in LA. All you're missing is... living
being
in
a cop.
Well, you need to be a cop, and you need the house on the beach, or whatever or the little RV on the beach.
Yeah.
But who would you?
Well, no, Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. Danny Glover had a house with a family. Mel Gibson had
you would be the Mel Gibson character.
I would be Yeah, you're right.
Obviously, yeah.
So I would spare Danny Boy, Ruben Blades' character. That dude, he was, he snuck in.
He's just doing his job.
He snuck back into the sealed off crime scene.
His beautiful voice.
He found the alien knife or whatever. And he got in there and did it. But
he literally did his job the whole time and died. Yeah.
He was just riding hard for the team.
Yeah. We didn't even get to hear him sing. Good Lord.
Yeah. What are your three? Fight, friend, or spare?
So I'm with you. I'm going to fight the Predator. I probably wouldn't get 2 cracks at him like you would.
You'd go down fast.
I'd go down fast. But I'm still going to, do the, full thing where I, cut my chest and stand there, So, I'm still doing that, So as long as I'm going out by the Predator, I'm going to, do that thing.
Yep.
And pretend he's going to be like, is this guy,
Is he for real?
Is he for real? Yeah, exactly. And then he'll be like, "Oh, that was easy."
You got to have him. Yeah.
But I want to make sure the Predator took one moment to be like, "Ooh, maybe I got the wrong alpha." And I was like, "You fucking," and then as far as friend, I'm gonna be friends with King Willie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be chilling with King Willie, and he's gonna be telling me things like, "This is Dreadman," and I'm gonna be like, "Oh." Holy shit.
You got all the weed you can ever ask for.
Yeah, and then I have all the weed I could ever ask for. No argument there. And then as far as spare, Leona. Sweet, sweet Leona.
Yeah.
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 I know she, didn't die, but, I don't want her to be exposed to any trauma.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Next in Grave Matters, we like to talk about our favorite moment from the movie. For me, it was actually a collection of moments from Bill Paxton. They fit these little jokes in throughout where he's like, don't worry, PR is my specialty. Don't worry, surveillance is my specialty. Luck is my specialty. He's just
he has.
he's kind of a caricature of himself at that point, and he's already creating this Bill Paxton thing that he just did for his whole career after this.
He's absolutely. I actually wrote down one of his jokes that just like kind of stuck with me. It is. Oh fuck! I didn't write it down. Paxton.
A lot
jokes.
of dad jokes.
Yeah,
It's hard on the dad jokes.
Oh, that's what it was. It was like, my doctor told me he needs a sample of my stool and my pee, and I told him, well, here's just my underwear
Can I
or
give you
something
my
like
underwear?
that.
Yeah, that's right.
But my favorite moment, I gotta say, is when you think Gary Busey's dead in the freezer, and then he comes back and saves Danny Glover. I was like, yes, that was amazing.
And he has a line, too, where he was like, I'm back.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? You just...
It just, I was like, this is fucking awesome.
It's great.
Because you, like, kind of want him to die because he's the arrogant guy, but he redeems himself. It was just a badass moment. And then, of course, I like the super fast cutting in the graveyard.
Yeah, the whole... I mean, Danny Glover just looks so scared.
And it created a trope that, we don't even realize that this movie created that trope.
Actually, now that we're talking about it again... They didn't create it. I will say, I think the first instance of that was in Die Hard with Bruce Willis, where you've got
nice.
the everyday guy being in a situation that's totally over his head, and he's helpless. He's kind of scared, and that's what Danny Glover is in this movie, where he's like, I don't know what to do. What's happening around me? Bruce Willis had the same thing in Die Hard, where he's like
looking every direction,
There's a whole moment. Well, I mean, there's a whole moment in the film where he cries.
Oh,
on the phone, right? Like, like you never see before that movie. You never saw an action hero be vulnerable like that. And after that happened in Die Hard, you had it happen with Jean-Claude Van Damme and his early movies. You had it happen in this movie. I think Jackie Chan also, in his early shit too.
Yeah.
So this was kind of the start of a new, like...
Well, now it's out of control with The Last of Us. But,
yeah, that's a whole other...
But yeah, that's also why, like, Arnold could never, he can't be crying in this.
Well, speaking of Arnold, our last bit on Grave Matters is the question of the day. In this case, I gotta ask, Arnold versus Danny.
So so are we...
As far as predator killers go, like if they, like how would they fare in a fight? Because we've seen them both kill a predator. So
yeah,
you put them in. I don't know. You put them in the city or the jungle. You got. Like,
I mean, I guess if we're gonna really lean into the like kind of archetype of it all, like the kind of guy who looks like he's stumbling over his shoelaces, dressed in khaki, beat cop. Is going to beat the muscle-bound,
right?
Army guy,
right. I would say so. Like I also just like Danny Glover's character way more in general because he's resourceful. He doesn't have his strength to fall back on. He doesn't have this military stuff. Like he's just street smart, and he's got to outthink his opponent because he can't outmatch him necessarily.
But that's what we like about Arnold was like it's his first time where he's had to outthink because he can't out-brawn,
That's true. He can't out-brawn, but he does do some crazy shit in the jungle where he's like setting traps and like
that's badass.
Camouflaging himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
think about that up against Danny Glover. I mean,
damn, you know what? I feel like it would be a draw.
I mean, it's a
now
really
that we're talking
tough
about
call.
it, that's a draw.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that makes me give it to Danny Glover is literally just like archetypes of writing, like just super buff commando versus beat cop.
Yeah.
Beat cop's going to win that just for audience sake.
Right.
However,
the underdog almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's the underdog. Like in that dynamic, Danny Glover's the underdog. That being said, him being the underdog, there is a reason he's the underdog. He would, 9 times out of 10 lose. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you would expect him to lose, but that's exactly why he come back and surprise you. Yeah.
So I guess it's Arnold. After all that, if you're going to bet like the house, you're going to want to put it on Arnold.
Well, to simplify it, I mean, I guess we could just say arm wrestling competition. Then it would
Well,
definitely
it's
be
always exactly. Yeah, if it's see, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's Arnold. So it's Arnold. Yeah.
Well, there you go, folks. Yeah. I don't know. That about does it for me tonight on Predator 2. How you feeling?
Yeah, I had a good time. I mean, I'm looking forward to all the Predators coming up, all the aliens, and I'm looking forward to us diving into it.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I think that's a wrap on the night. Thanks for tuning in to Bedlam Movie Nights. Please join us again. And as always, to be continued.
Yeah, folks, thanks for tuning in. And always keep your eyes on the skis.
Good night.